Compromise is not the end of the road, but the first step toward finding a path that both can walk together. The art of compromise is learning when to hold on and when to let go for the sake of mutual growth. Compromise teaches us that love isn't about always getting our way, but about growing together despite our differences. True connection is born from the willingness to compromise and build something greater than the sum of our individual desires. When we compromise, we trade temporary satisfaction for lasting peace in the heart of the relationship. Compromise doesn't erase differences, it embraces them and works toward a common understanding. In the dance of love, compromise is the step that ensures we move forward, not alone, but as partners. To compromise is not to lose, but to expand our hearts to fit the love we share. Sometimes, the act of compromising is the very thing that strengthens our bond and makes it unbreakable. Compromise isn't about settling, it's about finding the space to grow together in a world that constantly challenges us. The quietest moments of compromise often speak the loudest about the love we are willing to nurture. Compromise is not about bending so far that you break, but about bending together so you can stand stronger. In relationships, the art of compromise lies in understanding that it's not about winning or losing, but about building something that lasts. Compromise is the delicate art of understanding that sometimes the greatest victories are found in finding common ground. It's not the act of compromising that matters, but the willingness to show up and try for each other. Compromise isn't about finding the perfect solution, but about finding a way to move forward together. The beauty of compromise lies in the realization that we are two unique individuals choosing to create something beautiful together. Sometimes, love is less about winning the argument and more about choosing the other person's happiness as your own. To compromise is to allow space for growth, not just in the relationship, but within ourselves. In every relationship, compromise is the hidden force that keeps love growing even when things feel difficult. True compromise is when both hearts give a little, so both souls can stand a little taller. The more we compromise, the more we learn about how to respect each other's boundaries and needs. Compromise isn't about taking steps back. It's about moving forward together at a pace that feels right for both. When two people compromise, they shape a bond that is built on mutual respect, not just on shared beliefs. Compromise is the reminder that love is not about perfection, but about connection, despite imperfections. Each compromise is a small act of love, a small sacrifice for something bigger than ourselves. We compromise not because we don't care, but because we care enough to find a way to make it work. To compromise is to weave together the different threads of our lives into a fabric that holds us close. In every relationship, compromise acts as the glue that holds different hearts and minds together. Compromise is a reminder that our differences are not obstacles, but opportunities to create something stronger. The best love stories aren't made of perfection, but of two people willing to compromise to build something real. The essence of compromise is rooted in understanding that love grows not through domination, but collaboration. Compromise doesn't mean sacrificing your worth. It means balancing your needs with the needs of the one you care for. Compromise is about finding a path where both hearts can walk side by side, each with their own rhythm, but always in harmony. True love is when two people can compromise, not because they have to, but because they want to make each other's world better. In the act of compromise, we don't lose pieces of ourselves. We gain a deeper connection to each other. To compromise is to acknowledge the other person's needs as just as important as your own. Compromise is not a weakness. It is the strength of two hearts learning to beat together, even when they don't always agree. Sometimes it's the willingness to compromise that makes the difference between love surviving and love thriving. Through compromise, we find not only the space for love, but the wisdom to nurture it, no matter the challenges. Compromise is not about diminishing your values, but about elevating the relationship by finding balance. In love, compromise is the gift we give to each other, showing that we care enough to put the relationship first. Each compromise made is a step closer to a shared vision for the future, where both are equally valued. When we compromise, we learn that love is a constant evolution, a process of understanding and adjusting together. Sometimes, compromise is the only bridge between where we are and where we want to be, even if it feels like a hard path to walk. In relationships, the true strength is not in always being right, but in finding a middle ground where both hearts can meet. Compromise doesn't mean giving up. It means finding a way to meet halfway in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions. When our paths diverge, compromise is the only way we can walk together, not as enemies, but as partners. I think sometimes the biggest challenge is not being right, but in learning to understand where the other person stands. There's power in compromise. It's not weakness, but the strength of two souls finding balance. To compromise is not to lose, but to gain the opportunity to build something stronger than our individual desires. The most meaningful connections come when we realize that it's okay to bend a little to help the other person stand tall. In the dance of love and life, compromise is the rhythm that keeps us from stumbling. When hearts are willing to compromise, they learn to beat in harmony, even if they don't always move to the same tune. Compromise isn't about losing yourself for the other person. It's about finding a way to exist together while honoring both. It's not always easy to compromise, but sometimes it's the very thing that keeps the bond alive. In the stillness of compromise, we often find the loudest echoes of love and understanding. I've learned that to compromise doesn't mean to settle, but to find a way to thrive together. The beauty of compromise lies in the quiet moments when both souls choose to meet halfway. Even the strongest connections need compromise to flourish, like plants needing water to grow. When we compromise, we're not just giving in, we're making room for the other person to feel seen and heard. In moments of conflict, compromise is the language of love and growth. Compromise is the secret ingredient in the recipe for any successful partnership, where both people's needs are met and respected. It's not about giving up what you want, but learning to appreciate what the other person needs as well. In the art of compromise, we paint a picture of mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Compromise doesn't always come easy, but it's the gentle reminder that we are stronger together. When we compromise, we trade a piece of our ego for a deeper connection. Compromise is not a sign of weakness, but of strength, courage, and the willingness to build something beautiful. The true power of compromise is not in the actions, but in the feeling of unity that comes from making room for each other. Sometimes, compromise is the pause we need before we can hear each other's hearts beat in sync. It's in the moments of compromise that we realize how much we care, not by what we give up, but by what we choose to preserve. Compromise isn't surrendering, it's choosing love over being right. The best relationships are the ones where compromise flows like a river, nourishing everything in its path. When we compromise, we don't lose a part of ourselves. We simply grow the space for both hearts to coexist. Compromise is not an agreement to settle for less, but a shared commitment to reach something better. When hearts are aligned, compromise becomes an act of love, not sacrifice. To compromise is to take a step back, not in defeat, but in an effort to move forward together. True love is not about getting everything you want, but about understanding the needs of the other and finding a way to meet them. The beauty of compromise is that it makes room for both individuals to shine, even in their differences. It's not about giving up your dreams, but learning how to shape them into something that fits both of you. In moments of tension, compromise is the bridge that leads to understanding, respect, and connection. Compromise isn't about losing yourself, but about embracing the power of partnership. It's in the willingness to compromise that we create space for growth and deeper love. When compromise becomes the foundation, trust and love are built to last. There's a quiet strength in compromise, where both parties feel heard and valued. Compromise isn't about having it all. It's about sharing what we have with someone else in a way that feels right. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is compromise, not for the sake of pleasing the other, but for the sake of the relationship. Through compromise, we carve out spaces where both of our voices can be heard and our hearts can find peace. To compromise doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've chosen love over ego. In compromise, we find the wisdom to balance our needs with the needs of the person we care for. The beauty of compromise lies in the shared moments of understanding that emerge from it.